Brent, with what's gone on with the defense the last couple of weeks and looking to this week against Texas, what can you do in the short term with the guys that you have out there to put them in a better position to?
Well, again, I think it comes to, our desire's been there, our discipline hasn't. And it takes discipline. Foundationally, it's where it all starts. We got to play with better discipline. Again, things that I've said countless times, and and it can be the smallest things. It can be one guy. It can be being inside as opposed to outside. It can, being underneath as opposed to on top of. Just we got to play with better discipline. That's where it all starts. If we don't do that, we'll have the same kind of inconsistent results. In the first 3 weeks, I thought we played with really good discipline. Last 2 weeks, not as much.
So I assume you're still confident that this defense can perform well?
Yeah, I've seen, again, I don't know whatever it means, but 40 of the whatever plays, that we saw went for 3 yards or less. There's countless examples of the first part of the season, certainly fall camp, or even in 2 defeats the last couple of weeks, where our guys are doing things well. Just got to get them to do it well consistently, and it's a very frustrating thing. The work and the buy-in, the desire, the effort. None of it's been perfect, just like the coaching, but those things have been there. But that without the details and again the discipline, you're going to get again inconsistent results. And for me, that's frustrating. I'm frustrated for them because of their work hasn't been rewarded. They're doing their effort and their commitment has been there, but it hasn't been rewarded here the last couple of weeks. So frustrated for them, that the production doesn't match the work that they've put in. But I know this: if you keep your head down and you don't get influenced by noise and seeds of doubt and discouragement, that we'll pull ourselves right back out of it. I know that without question. But we got to go do it. It's easier said than done. Mm-hmm.
Brent, I wanted to ask you a little bit about turnovers. Looked like there were a couple opportunities against TCU. How do you balance that, wanting to be aggressive, especially if the offense is struggling, while not being over-aggressive and losing focus?
I mean, that's a balance you always have, each and every week. But, yeah, there's some opportunities. Again, you gotta squeeze people. You can't let them be comfortable. And we allowed, TCU, and TCU executed, but we allowed them to have this enormous cushion to, it's hard to get people to, expose themselves, so you gotta play well, to get people to not be able to be, one-dimensional or, again, comfortable and be able to protect themselves and things of that nature, scheme, play-wise and things of that nature. So, just got to play well. And, turnovers are part of the game. That'll be a natural part, of the game, being on the right side of it.
Brent, I know you don't want to talk about the injuries that happened during the game, but Marcus Major, Marcus Stripling didn't travel. Was that injury related, or is that?
It was.
Okay.
You said discipline when you were talking to Ryan about the defensive things that need to change. Do you rethink scheme to make the connection there? Do you rethink the way you're teaching the defense to your guys?
You're always looking at everything,
Even more now, given the last 2 years.
No.
So the message needs to be received differently then for the players?
It all needs to just, the byproduct needs to be better, all of it, So if you have a certain scheme that requires a bail technique, the technique that goes with the scheme, then you gotta execute the scheme, and you can't forget. And so you got to do a better job of emphasizing it as a coach and doing it again and again and again and again. You can't get bored with that. And in the pressure situation, you have to have the poise enough to execute. And so little things like that, you know, they lead to the big things, as we know. So, you know, all of it needs to be better. You know.
One more thing. Do you rethink your involvement on game days in terms of what you're doing physically after the last 2 weeks? I think it's pretty involved anyway. But
Yeah, I don't see it any different. I don't see it to be any different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, when you got here, you put in a new defense. Everybody expected you to. Did you do that immediately because you wanted to rip the Band-Aid off and get down the road to where you want to be? Or was there a case of, hey, this is going to work with the personnel we have? How'd you balance those two things?
So let me ask you this. What is the alternative? What do you mean a new defense as opposed to what? Just do what they were doing?
Yeah, or some hybrid that more fits your personnel.
Yeah, we got to build a foundation of what we want to be. You know, we're going to be a multiple defense. You know, and utilize our personnel every year. It's going to be a little bit different. Utilize the strengths. Try to protect their weaknesses. Put players in position to be successful. And you're always evaluating and never afraid to do things that maybe someone else wouldn't do or doesn't do, you know, so because you're worried about, you know, the result or being criticized or whatnot. So absolutely, I mean, we're installing a new system in every part of our program, programmatically, schemes, all of it, you know, from the day one. So it's not rip the Band-Aid off, it's you know, build a program, you know, and so with that comes your schemes in all three phases. So there's a lot of intricacies that, you know, from the schemes, the verbiage, the language, the fundamentals that go along with it. And so does that answer your question?
Coach, especially this week in this game, mental toughness is really big. Are you pleased with where your team is now in terms of mental toughness, and do you do anything differently this week in addressing them about that, if it's an issue?
I mean, mental toughness is a part of getting in this circle and playing this game. So this week is not more important. That's not how I look at it. You know, it's important every week. It's important every day. It's important for every one of you here. You know, you got to have mental toughness, you know, to be successful in life. You know, toughness is a part of success, and when it comes to the game of football, it's a part of winning. And so, absolutely, it's something that you got to have. And you know, you can't.
Asking also about, pardon me, Brent, but about if you're pleased with where it is now. Everyone's searching for, you know, answers, and I just wondered on this topic: are you pleased with where you are now?
And again, you're always, everything can be better. You know, everything can be better. So everything needs to be better. I mean, whether it's physical or toughness or coaching or fundamentals or understanding, precision, timing. You know, nothing's more important than the other, but we got to have discipline with all of it.
Eli?
You guys talked the last couple of weeks, especially about evaluating everything after a loss. When you think about some of the plays you've given up, is there any evaluation of not just what's going on the field, but how it's happening, the communication, and what you guys are doing on game day?
Oh yeah, sure, always. Yep, always. You know, your Sunday staff meet, you're addressing all of it. You know, how you travel, how you communicate, how you transition from one, you know, special teams unit to another. All of it, constantly. Not necessarily looking at changing, just making everything better.
As it relates to maybe those explosive plays that you and Ted have talked plenty about, is any of that tied to that, or they're separate?
No, it's separate. Yeah.
Far right, Justin Martinez.
Hey, Brent. It seems like you and the staff have talked a lot about the group being player-led, you know, rather than coaching-led. I mean, just who are some guys you notice have really taken it to the next level in terms of leadership right now, and is now a good test
of
of
a whole
that?
bunch of them. I'm not being evasive, but man, I got like almost 30 guys in my senior meeting every Monday and Friday. So those guys have been outstanding, and there's a bunch of young guys that have been leading too. And like I say, these guys are hungry. They want to do well, and you know, many of the guys have been captains, you know, game week captains, and so there's a small list for you there. But I would be remiss if I start talking about a few that have been outstanding, then I would leave some off, and there's just too many to name. But our leadership has been really good. You know, I've been pleased with it. If you ask the leaders, if they all came up, they would tell you that, hey man, we got to do more. We got to be more detailed. We got to be more consistent about, you know, some of our off the field habits, studying and things of that nature. That's what they would say. You know, the all around commitment. But I've been really, you know, pleased with the buy-in with the group of guys, you know, and you know what we're asking them to do.
Brent, you talked to us last week in this space about players last week coming off the K-State game before TCU about playing with a fear of failure. Did that happen again on Saturday against?
I said they have a fear of failure. What do you mean? I don't.
Playing against Kansas State, the guys were playing to not make mistakes, playing with a fear of failure.
I said they're playing with a fear of failure.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember saying that guys played with a fear of failure. I don't know. But yeah, sometimes yeah.
Did that happen against Saturday?
I don't know. No, I mean, I saw first play of the game, they throw a quick hit screen, and you know we have a formula for success. Number one is effort with technique. You know, you gotta play with tremendous effort, but you gotta have technique. You can't. We attack the block, but we run down the middle of it, and they catch the ball and they run around us. Our help is inside, and we got to stay outside. So the effort's there. You know, we got to, and sometimes the effort with the technique's there. Right now, we're just playing inconsistent. We need to be more aggressive at the point of attack, and attack blockers at the first level, and be more disruptive with both our frontline guys and our second line players and our third line of defense. We need to do a much better job of being aggressive, tighter, more physical, and condensing running lanes. Right now, we're not doing that consistently, and we're not doing it near enough. And so that's what I saw from last week. Make mistakes? I don't know about that. I don't know. I can't say. You have to ask the player. But for what I'm seeing is we got to have effort with technique. You know, it can't just be effort. And our guys know that. You know, it's a very simple, concept.
Is that something maybe that can show up when your quarterback is throwing the ball to a receiver that's open and his footwork is bad, his fundamentals are bad?
Yeah,
so
I think
a
lot of things can break down, or maybe you getting antsy. There's a lot of things that can be a factor, and not being as accurate as you need to be. And so again, and guys can press. It's a very real thing. You can't see it on a stat sheet, but my charge to the defense is when you're making things easy for the opponent. Next thing you know, it's 20-3. The offense will have a tendency to try to press and make a play instead of, hey man, let's just get in a rhythm and settle down. Let's play with poise and still be patient. It's a long game. That's a very natural thing. So maybe you get a little hurried to make a throw, or maybe you overreach, a blocker, and he comes underneath and makes a play. A lot of little things like that, lead to that. When you get behind like we did. Mm-hmm.
Second row on the right, Cliff Brunt.
Yeah, so Coach, a few weeks ago you talked about handling success. And for the defensive side, you talked about handling success and how they were going to deal with the success that they had the first 3 games. Now we're at a point where you're talking about handling struggles, handling some failure. From a mental standpoint, what do you need to see from guys, that bigger picture thing? And then you talk about some guys that have been beat up some last year, had some struggles defensively, had some struggles in the past. How do you prevent them from going back into that place mentally?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I think there's a lot that goes into what you just said. It's not just one thing. It's continuing to show belief in people. It's getting the best out of them. It's still correcting and holding them accountable and being tough and demanding. But continue to give them hope. and I think it's important that you do a good job of showing them, all the good plays that they've made that align with maybe, again, here's the mistake. Let's, hey man, these guys, it wasn't just a 4-yard gain, it's a touchdown. So, what can we do to prevent that? And again, it's, defense is trained reaction, and guys have got to feel not only confident in what they're doing, but I think the maturation is when they really understand what the guys around them are doing. Their game goes to another level, and both in their consistency, aggressiveness, precision, and we're not there where we need to be yet, consistently, So we're working hard on it, and you just go back to practice. There's no other way to get yourself out of a bad spot, but you got to have the right mindset, and we got to do a great job as coaches and leaders to help these guys that way.
Stay over there with Ryan Chapman. You mentioned with the secondary Saturday, there were a couple of times you felt like they panicked. How do you kind of identify that and root that out and work on that in practice to make sure that the next time they're kind of put in that spot, that there isn't a sense of panic?
You do the same things that you've been doing. You literally put them in that spot, in phase, in a position, and then there's some techniques to finish at the top of the route that he's not looking back for the ball, so now what do you do? Okay, you've been beat. Now what do you do what do you need to do when you get beat? So you practice getting beat in your drill work and your fundamental work, and you practice when you're in a great position. Don't panic, get your head around, play through the man, play through his hands, and if you're looking back for the ball and there's a lot of contact, 99% of the time they're not calling it. You get in phase with a guy and you're not looking back for the ball and you run into him, and there's the same level of contact, they're going to call it virtually every time, and they should. And so you just continue to do what you've been doing, and sometimes you learn the most, through again failure and defeat, and and some of the maybe the bad habits or the inconsistent habits that you've been in practice, maybe now you get a little more focus, all the time, so guys can make the improvement that we got to make.
Brent, you talk about inconsistencies with defense, getting that technique with the effort. Those vulnerabilities, as you think about moving ahead against Texas this week, was there a thought in your mind that those vulnerabilities might exist, or did they come to light these last couple of weeks with your defense?
I know how fragile the game is. One week to the next, things can be on different planets. That's what I know. You're dealing with, again, 17 to 23-year-olds. That's what happens. And so I look at every week in its own merit. I look at every day within its own merit. You got to play the game, and then you get exposed, and that's how you improve and get better. That's the only way you improve and get better. And so having these thoughts or whatnot, you don't know what you don't know until things happen. So, everybody has a clean slate every week. You certainly have always you take into account things that they've struggled at and things that they've done well at, and then you try to fix those things and promote those things. And so, to me, every week has a chance to again be a season of its own, and a performance of its own. And we've seen it, time and time again, whether it's in-house or it's another program, another team somewhere at every level. So that's where we're focused on, just again the incremental improvement that we got to make.
Obviously, Billy Bowman didn't re-enter the game after he got banged up on that kick return. When something like that happens, does that ever open up a conversation about, hey, maybe this guy is too valuable to either our offense or to our defense to have him back to returning kicks, or is that just kind of the risk you have?
It's part of the game. It's the risk. Anybody's going to play on special teams. Our starting middle linebacker, playing on, he's one of the guards on the punt team. Do you not put him on there? So Billy's a very dynamic player, as we've said before. So you hate that it happened. You're always, massaging everything and evaluating every decision that you make. And so really unfortunate. First time he's ever been hurt in his career. So he hadn't been an injury-prone guy. And, thankful that it, wasn't worse than, what it could have been.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.